Have you ever wondered why the miracles stopped? Why the healings, the transformations, the divine interventions that once flowed like rivers through the hands of the faithful seem to have dried up in our modern age? What if I told you that before Jesus performed every single miracle, before he raised the dead, healed the blind, calmed the storms, he spoke a specific prayer, a sacred formula so powerful that it was eventually hidden from you, systematically removed from teachings, buried beneath centuries of institutional doctrine? Type "I am ready" in the comments if you want to learn what they've been hiding from you. And if you feel that ancient stirring in your soul right now, that whisper telling you that you were meant to find this video at this exact moment in your life, hit that like button. Because what you're about to discover will shatter everything you thought you knew about prayer, power, and your own divine potential. They didn't just stop teaching this prayer by accident. They stopped teaching it because it works, because it transfers power from the institution to the individual, because it reveals that you are not separate from the divine source. You are a vessel for it, a conduit through which miracles flow as naturally as breath when you know the secret. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover the exact words Jesus spoke before turning water into wine, before multiplying the loaves and fishes, before commanding Lazarus to walk out of his tomb. But more than that, you're going to understand why these words hold the frequency of creation itself, why they unlock the same miraculous power within you, and why this knowledge was deliberately kept from the masses for 2,000 years. This isn't just history. This isn't just theology. This is the forbidden key to the kingdom that's been hiding in plain sight, waiting for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. The question is, are you ready to remember what your soul has always known? To understand what was taken from us, we must journey back to a time before the councils of Nicaea in 325 AD, before Constantine merged church and empire, before the gatekeepers decided which teachings would survive and which would be buried in the sands of time. The earliest followers of Jesus, the ones who walked with him, who witnessed the miracles firsthand, they practiced a form of prayer that was radically different from what most people do today. In the ancient Aramaic language that Jesus spoke, a language where every word carries vibrational frequency, where sound and meaning are inseparable, prayer wasn't begging. It wasn't asking an external deity for favors like a servant pleading before a distant king. It was something far more powerful, far more dangerous to those who would later seek to control the masses through religious hierarchy. It was a declaration of unity with the divine source, a recognition of power already present, already flowing through the one who prays. The Gnostic texts, discovered in Nag Hammadi in 1945 and kept secret for decades, reveal that Jesus taught his closest disciples a mystery. The kingdom of God is within you. Not will be, not might be if you're good enough. Exec, present tense. Already here, already activated. The Gospel of Thomas, excluded from the canonical Bible, records Jesus saying, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not have will destroy you." This wasn't poetry. This was instruction. This was the technical manual for miracle working that the institutional church found too threatening to preserve because it meant every human being carried the same divine spark, the same creative power that Jesus demonstrated. It meant no mediator was necessary, no priest to intercede, no payment required, no hierarchy to maintain control. In the Hebrew mystical tradition of Kabbalah, which Jesus would have been deeply familiar with as a learned rabbi, there exists the concept of kavanah, the intention and consciousness behind prayer that transforms mere words into acts of creation. The ancient Kabbalists understood that the divine name itself, the tetragrammaton YHWH, represents the eternal present tense, I am that I am. Not I was, not I will be, I am. The eternal now where all power resides, where all creation springs forth. Before every miracle, Jesus entered this state of I am consciousness. He didn't ask God to heal someone as if God were separate, as if the power were somewhere else. He gave thanks as if the miracle had already occurred, because in the realm of I am, in the quantum field of infinite possibility, it already had. He spoke from the end, from the place of completion, collapsing the wave of potential into the particle of manifestation through the vibrational frequency of gratitude and absolute knowing. The Essenes, the mystical Jewish sect many scholars believe Jesus was connected to, practiced a form of prayer they called feeling prayer. Ancient Essene texts describe this as invoking the feeling of the wish fulfilled, surrounding yourself with the emotion of having already received what you desire. They understood something quantum physics would only confirm 2,000 years later, that the observer affects the observed, that consciousness shapes reality, that feeling is the language that speaks to the field of all possibilities. But when the Roman Empire adopted Christianity as its state religion, something shifted. The teachings had to be standardized, controlled, made to support the hierarchy of power. Prayers became petitions. Humans became sinners, separate from God, requiring intermediaries. The direct connection, the I am power that Jesus demonstrated and taught, became heresy. Mystics throughout the centuries who rediscovered these truths, Meister Eckhart, Hildegard of Bingen, Giordano Bruno, were silenced, exiled, or burned at the stake. The prayer Jesus used wasn't written down in the canonical Gospels as a formula to be repeated because it wasn't about the words alone. It was about the consciousness, the frequency, the state of being from which those words emerged. It was about remembering who you are, not a beggar before a distant throne, but a divine being temporarily wearing human skin, equipped with the same creative power that spoke the universe into existence. So what was this prayer? What were the exact words that Jesus spoke before commanding the storm to be still? Before telling the paralyzed man to rise and walk? Before calling Lazarus forth from death itself? To understand this, we must look beyond the English translations, beyond even the Greek manuscripts, into the Aramaic heart of what was actually said, and more importantly, into the consciousness from which it emerged. In the Gospel of John, chapter 11, before Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead, we find the only recorded instance where the veil is pulled back and we're allowed to hear what Jesus prayed before performing a miracle. He stands before the tomb, and he speaks these words: "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." Read those words again slowly. Let them penetrate. I thank you that you have heard me. Past tense, before he spoke the command, before Lazarus emerged, before the miracle manifested in the physical realm, Jesus was already giving thanks for its completion. He wasn't asking. He wasn't hoping. He wasn't begging for God to please, if it's your will, maybe consider helping him out. He was acknowledging what already existed in the realm of divine potential, in the field of infinite possibility. This is the secret they stopped teaching. This is the forbidden key. Prayer is not petition. It is declaration. It is not about asking for something you don't have. It is about giving thanks for what already is in the invisible realm, thereby calling it forth into visible manifestation. But there's something even deeper here, hidden in the Aramaic language itself. When Jesus said, "Father," he used the word abwoon, a term that doesn't mean a patriarchal figure sitting on a distant throne. In Aramaic, Abun refers to the birther, the source, the cosmic womb of creation, the field of infinite potential from which all things emerge. It's the unified field that quantum physicists now tell us underlies all of reality, the zero-point field where matter and energy dance in eternal possibility. When Jesus said, "I thank you that you have heard me," he was speaking from a state of absolute unity with this source. The Aramaic structure reveals something the English translation conceals. He wasn't talking to God as someone separate. He was speaking from the God consciousness within himself. The subject and object collapsed into one. The prayer and the one praying became a single act of creation. Think of it like this. Imagine you're standing before a vast ocean. Most people pray like they're on the shore, calling out across the water to someone on the other side, hoping their voice carries far enough to be heard. But Jesus understood that he wasn't standing at the edge of the ocean. He was the ocean, temporarily experiencing itself as a wave. When the wave recognizes its true nature as ocean, it doesn't need to ask the ocean for permission to rise or fall. It simply moves with the natural power that it is. This is why Jesus consistently said things that confused and even angered the religious authorities of his time. I and the Father are one. Before Abraham was, I am. The works that I do, you shall do also, and greater works than these shall you do. He wasn't claiming to be the only Son of God. He was claiming that everyone is a son or daughter of the divine source, that everyone carries this same creative power, the same ability to speak reality into existence from the consciousness of unity. The prayer before every miracle had three essential components, three frequencies that must be present simultaneously. First, there was unity consciousness, the absolute knowing that there is no separation between the one praying and the source of all creation. Not belief, not hope, not faith in something outside yourself, but direct experiential knowing of your true nature as an individualized expression of the infinite. Second, there was present tense gratitude, thanksgiving for the miracle as already accomplished, already done, already manifested in the invisible realm. This is the vibrational frequency that quantum physicists now understand as the observer effect, where the act of observing, of placing your consciousness in the reality of the wish fulfilled, collapses the wave function of potential into the particle of manifestation. Third, there was feeling, the full-body experience of having already received, of the miracle already being done. Not the mental acknowledgement of words, but the physiological state, the electromagnetic signature that your heart sends out when you are living in the reality of completion. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field 5,000 times more powerful than your brain, and this field communicates directly with what the ancients called the field of all possibilities, and what scientists now call the quantum field. Jesus understood something that modern mystics and quantum physicists are only now rediscovering, that the universe doesn't respond to your words or even to your thoughts. It responds to the frequency you're broadcasting, the signal your entire being is sending out. When you pray from lack, from need, from the consciousness of not having, you're sending out the signal of lack, and the universe, being a perfect mirror, reflects that lack back to you. But when Jesus prayed, he did something that defied the logical mind, something that seemed impossible to those trapped in linear cause and effect thinking. He prayed from the end. He placed his consciousness not in the present moment of the problem, not in the current reality of sickness or death or lack, but in the future moment of the solution already accomplished. And then he brought that future feeling into the present moment through the alchemy of gratitude. This is where most people stumble. They say, "How can I give thanks for something I don't have? Isn't that lying? Isn't that self-deception?" But they're asking the wrong question because they're still operating from the paradigm of Newtonian physics, where reality is fixed, solid, already determined. Jesus operated from what we now understand as quantum reality, where the future is not fixed but fluid, where multiple potential timelines exist simultaneously, and where your consciousness, specifically the electromagnetic frequency of your heart and mind in coherent alignment, selects which timeline collapses into your experienced reality. In the ancient mystical text called the Prayer of Joseph, which was referenced by early church fathers but later excluded from the canon, there's a passage that reveals this truth explicitly. "I have descended to dwell among the sons of men, and I have spoken with them in their language, but I come from above the heavens. I am a ruling spirit who has been given dominion over those who are born before me." This wasn't Jesus speaking. This was the teaching that every human soul descends from the realm of pure potential, from the field of infinite possibility, and takes on temporary form in the material world while retaining the ability to access that higher realm through consciousness. The Hermetic principle, as above, so below, as within, so without, encoded this same truth. The realm above, the invisible field of quantum potential, is the template for the realm below, the physical manifestation. What exists within, in your consciousness, in your feeling state, in the reality you hold as true in your heart, manifests without as your experienced physical reality. Jesus didn't violate this law. He mastered it. He operated it with such precision that what appeared to be miracles were simply the natural result of perfect alignment between inner consciousness and outer manifestation. Consider the miracle of the loaves and fishes. 5,000 people, hungry, with only 5 loaves and 2 fish. The disciples saw lack. They saw impossible mathematics. They saw a problem with no solution. But Jesus, what did he do? He took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and before distributing them, before the multiplication occurred in the visible realm, he looked up to heaven and gave thanks. Again, past tense. Gratitude before manifestation. Thanksgiving for the miracle already accomplished in the invisible realm. What happened in that moment? He shifted his consciousness from the frequency of not enough to the frequency of more than enough. He moved from the vibration of scarcity to the vibration of abundance. And here's the crucial understanding. Abundance and scarcity are not amounts. They're frequencies. They're states of consciousness. You can have $1 million and still vibrate at the frequency of scarcity, always afraid it's not enough, always grasping for more. Or you can have very little and vibrate at the frequency of abundance, always grateful, always recognizing the infinite supply available in the invisible realm. The ancient Kabbalists taught that there are 2 worlds, the world of Asiya, physical manifestation, and the world of Atziluth, divine emanation. Between these 2 worlds are intermediate realms, Yetzirah, formation, and Braya, creation. The prayer Jesus used operated not in Asiya, not in the physical world where the problem existed, but in Braya, in the realm of pure creation where thought becomes thing, where consciousness shapes energy into form. When you pray in Asiya, you're praying from the problem. God, I'm sick. Please heal me. The very structure of that prayer reinforces and broadcasts the frequency of sickness. You're observing the sickness, focusing on it, feeling it, and therefore, according to the observer effect in quantum mechanics, you're collapsing the wave function into more sickness. But when you pray from Braya, from the realm of creation, you're praying from the solution. Thank you that I am whole, that I am healed, that vitality flows through every cell of my body. You're not denying the current physical reality. You're simply refusing to give it your power of observation and feeling. You're withdrawing your consciousness from the problem and investing it fully in the solution, thereby starving the problem of the very energy it needs to persist, and feeding the solution with the creative power of your focused attention and gratitude. This is why Jesus could say to the paralyzed man, "Your sins are forgiven. Rise and walk." The religious leaders were scandalized. What did forgiveness of sins have to do with physical healing? Everything. Because in Aramaic mysticism, sin doesn't mean moral failure. It means to miss the mark, to be out of alignment with your true nature as a divine being. The paralysis wasn't just physical, it was spiritual, emotional, mental. It was the manifestation in Isaiah of a consciousness that had forgotten its true nature, that had identified with limitation, with separation, with powerlessness. When Jesus said, "Your sins are forgiven," he was doing something far more radical than granting moral pardon. He was declaring the man's restoration to his true nature, his realignment with the divine source. He was calling forth the remembrance of who the man really was beneath the layers of trauma, limitation, and false identity. And from that restored consciousness, that remembrance of divine nature, the physical healing was not a supernatural intervention. It was the natural, inevitable result. The Gospel of Philip, another Gnostic text excluded from the canon, states, "Light and darkness, life and death, right and left, are brothers of one another. They are inseparable. Because of this, neither are the good good, nor the evil evil, nor is life life, nor death death. For this reason, each one will dissolve into its original nature. But those who are exalted above the world are indissoluble, eternal." This passage reveals the secret. Miracles don't happen by overcoming the physical laws. They happen by transcending the level of consciousness where those limitations exist. Jesus operated from the consciousness exalted above the world, the realm where opposites dissolve, where sickness and health are both recognized as temporary states within an eternal, unchanging divine nature. From that elevated consciousness, he simply called forth the preferred state through the vibrational frequency of gratitude and knowing. Now comes the moment where ancient wisdom meets your everyday life, where the forbidden teaching becomes a living practice, where you take the same power Jesus demonstrated and activate it within your own experience. This isn't theory anymore. This isn't history. This is the technical manual for miracle working that's been waiting for you to be ready to receive it. The first step is to shift from petition to declaration, from asking to thanking. Starting today, every time you pray, whether for healing, abundance, guidance, or any other desire, you must restructure the entire consciousness from which you pray. Never again approach prayer as a beggar approaching a king. Approach it as Jesus did, as a divine being temporarily wearing human form, speaking from the source, not to the source. Here's the practical formula. Identify what you desire: healing, financial breakthrough, restored relationship, creative inspiration, whatever it is. Now close your eyes and move your awareness out of the present circumstance where the problem exists. Don't deny it's there, but simply withdraw your power of observation from it. Take several deep breaths, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Each exhale releasing tension, each inhale drawing you deeper into the present moment, into the field of infinite possibility that exists right here, right now, beneath the surface noise of the material world. Now speak these words, or words like them in your own authentic voice. Abwoon, divine source, infinite field of all possibility, I thank you that my healing is already accomplished. I thank you that in the invisible realm, in the quantum field where all potential exists, this miracle is already done. I give thanks not for what will be, but for what already is. Feel the words. This is crucial. Don't just say them mentally. Feel them in your chest, in your heart, in your belly. Generate the actual physiological sensation of gratitude, the warmth, the expansion, the sense of relief and joy that comes when something wonderful has happened. Your body doesn't know the difference between something that has happened in physical reality and something you're experiencing in imagination with full sensory detail. To your nervous system, to your electromagnetic field, to the quantum field reading your signal, it's all equally real. Stay in this feeling for at least 3 to 5 minutes. This is not time wasted. This is the most powerful action you can take. In these minutes of feeling prayer, you're broadcasting a completely different frequency than the one you've been sending out. You're collapsing the wave function of potential into a new timeline, drawing that future reality into the present moment through the magnetic power of coherent heart-brain alignment. Do this practice twice daily. Once in the morning before the day's chaos pulls you into reactive consciousness, and once at night before sleep, when your brain naturally enters the theta state, where the subconscious mind is most receptive to reprogramming. Consistency matters more than intensity. 5 minutes of genuine feeling prayer twice a day for 30 days will rewire your entire electromagnetic signature more powerfully than 5 hours of desperate begging once a month. But here's where most people encounter the obstacle, the place where the practice falls apart, the gap between the prayer and the manifestation. You do the feeling prayer, you generate the gratitude, you align with the miracle already accomplished, and then you open your eyes, and the physical circumstances are still the same. The bank account still shows lack, the body still shows symptoms, the relationship still shows distance, and doubt creeps in like a thief, stealing the seed you just planted before it has time to germinate. This is the test. This is where faith, not blind belief, but the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, becomes your anchor. Jesus spoke about this explicitly when he said, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Present perfect tense, have received. Already done. The believing is not hoping it will happen, it's knowing it has already happened in the realm of causation, and you're simply waiting for it to precipitate into the realm of effect. During this gap, you must practice what the mystics call living from the end. This means you continue to move through your day, not as someone waiting for a miracle, but as someone for whom the miracle has already occurred. How would you feel if the healing was already complete? Feel that now. How would you walk, talk, make decisions if the abundance had already arrived? Walk, talk, and decide from that place now. This isn't pretending. This is prophetic living, embodying the future reality in the present moment, thereby magnetizing it into manifestation. When doubt arises, and it will, don't fight it. Fighting doubt gives it energy. Instead, simply return to the practice. Return to the breath. Return to the feeling of gratitude for the miracle already accomplished. Each time doubt appears, and you choose to return to faith, you're strengthening the neural pathways of trust, weakening the neural pathways of fear and separation. Here's an advanced technique Jesus used that you can apply immediately. Speak to the circumstance directly, as he spoke to the fig tree, to the storm, to the demons. Look at the lack in your bank account and say, "I see you, but you're not the truth of who I am. The truth is divine abundance flowing through me now. Thank you, Source, for the wealth already mine. Look at the diagnosis, the symptom, the pain, and say, I acknowledge you, but you don't have authority over my divine nature. Perfect health is already my reality. Thank you for the healing already accomplished. This is not denial. This is dominion. This is exercising the authority that Jesus said you have. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. The enemy is not some external devil. It's the consciousness of separation, of limitation, of powerlessness, and you overcome it not by fighting it, but by placing your consciousness in a higher octave where it simply cannot exist. Finally, watch for the signs. The universe will begin sending you evidence that your prayer has been heard, that the timeline is shifting. These signs might be subtle at first, an unexpected check in the mail, a chance conversation, a sudden insight, a feeling of peace where there was anxiety. Don't dismiss these as coincidence. Recognize them as the leading edge of your manifestation, as proof that the invisible miracle is beginning to make itself visible. Gratitude for these small signs accelerates the arrival of the larger manifestation. You now hold in your consciousness what was deliberately hidden, what was systematically removed from the teachings, what the institutional gatekeepers decided was too dangerous for the masses to know. The prayer Jesus used before every miracle wasn't a secret because it was complex. It was a secret because it was too simple, too powerful, too democratizing. It revealed that you don't need an intermediary. You don't need permission. You don't need to earn your way into divine favor. You already are the divine expressed in human form. And the creative power of the universe already flows through you, waiting only for you to remember, to align, to speak from the consciousness of I am. This is not blasphemy. This is your birthright. This is what Jesus meant when he said, "Is it not written in your law, I have said you are gods?" He was quoting Psalm 82, reminding those who had forgotten their true nature that they were never meant to crawl as beggars before a distant deity. They were meant to stand as conscious co-creators, as children who had inherited the full creative capacity of their divine parent. Every time you pray from this day forward, you make a choice. Will you pray as you were taught by systems that benefit from your sense of powerlessness? Or will you pray as Jesus actually prayed, from unity with gratitude in the feeling of the wish already fulfilled? One way keeps you dependent, waiting, hoping that someday if you're good enough, if you beg convincingly enough, you might receive what you need. The other way activates the kingdom of heaven that's already within you, calls forth the miracles that already exist in the field of infinite potential, and demonstrates that you were never separate from the source. You were always the vessel through which it flows. The storms in your life, the financial chaos, the health crisis, the relationship breakdown, the existential despair, they're all waiting for you to stand up in the boat and speak with authority. Peace, be still. Not as a hope, not as a plea, but as a declaration from one who knows that the power to calm the storm resides not in some distant heaven, but in the divine consciousness awakening within you right now, in this very moment. So I leave you with this. Go into your secret place, close the door as Jesus instructed, and pray to the Father who is in secret, the divine source that exists in the invisible realm of pure potential. Give thanks for what already is, feel it with every fiber of your being, and then watch as the physical world rearranges itself to match the frequency you're broadcasting. The miracle isn't coming to you, it's coming through you, because you are the miracle waiting to remember itself. If this teaching has awakened something ancient in your soul, if you feel the truth of it resonating in places deeper than logic can reach, type "I am" in the comments below. Let that declaration be your first act of conscious co-creation. And share this video with someone who's ready to remember their divine nature. Someone who's been praying for permission when they already have dominion. The prayer Jesus used before every miracle is now yours. The only question remaining is, what will you create with it?